Okay guys, here we go with week 23 Tuesday. That's week 23 Tuesday on the New Wave Maths. So the first one here, I know we're blue in the face from these ones, but they're important. We have 0.5 multiplying by 0.8. If we write them on top of each other like this and follow the rules, we can't go wrong. So we're going to multiply 8 fives are 40, put down a 0, carry our 4. 8 zeros are 0 and the 4 is 4, and we've got 40 here. And some people are still making the mistake, they're writing in 40 here or they're writing in 4.0, and both of those answers are wrong. What we need to do is count up how many numbers there are after a decimal in the sum. So there's 1 here and there's 1 here. So that means there's 2 altogether. So we start over here and we count over 1, 2 places, and that's where our decimal goes. So our answer is 0.40, and we'll write a 0 in the front here just to neaten that up and tidy it up. Number 2, we have to insert signs into this number sentence so that it equals 12. Now I'm looking at the 20 here and thinking, what would I do to 20 to get to 12? Well, I'd like to take away 8. So if I make this a takeaway, is there any way we can make this 72 and 9 into an 8 by putting plus, minus, multiply or divide in here? Okay, I think you'll find you'll be able to do that. Number 3, simplify the ratio 2 is to 10. Now this sign here, we read it as the words is to. So this says 2 is to 10. And that's the same as 1 is to what? Well, to get from 2 to 1, we divide by 2. That gives us a 1 on this side. And to find out what happens on the other side, we'll divide by 2 over here, and we will get 5. So 2 is to 10 is the same as 1 is to 5. Okay, if you put 2 spoons of sugar into every 10 parts of tea, it would taste the same as if you put 1 part sugar into 5 parts of tea. Number 4, we have 25 multiplied by 4 multiplied by 86. Now that looks like a big difficult sum until you realize that 25 times 4 is 100. So all we have to do is multiply 100 by 86, and we can do that straight away by just adding on 2 zeros when we multiply by 100. Number 5, we haven't seen these in a while. When we're multiplying by 10, we move our decimal 1 place to the right. So this decimal here is going to move 1 place to the right, and we're going to get 0.2. Number 6, we've got 3 kilograms and 4 grams is equal to 3 and 4 over 1,000 kilograms. Now to show that fraction in decimals, for thousands we need 1, 2, 3 decimal places. And to see where this 4 goes, well, if we put it in here, we'd be saying it's 400 over 1,000. If we put it in the middle, we'd be saying 40. We need to put it right at the end here to say 4 over 1,000. Okay, and then all we have to do is fill in our zeros here to fill out the rest of the numbers. Now, what do we do from 3 to get to 9? Okay, from 3 to 9, well, we're multiplying it by 3. Okay, from 9 to 27, looks like we're doing the same there. Okay, 3 times 27 gives us 81. So what is our rule? I'd like you to write it out what it is that we're doing there. Number 8, simple sum and adding sum. As long as we keep the units on top of units and tenths on top of tenths and decimals on top of decimals, we'll be fine. So 5.029, and on the bottom 2.236. And we add those up, and that'll give us the right answer for in here. Okay. Number 9, we have to colour to show 3/4 of a litre. 3/4 of a litre. So this is a full litre up here. Okay, and if you look at these, I'm going to ignore these smaller ones for a minute. If we look at these, and I'm just going to see, I think there might be 10 of them. So I'm going to, if this is 1 litre, this would be 0.9, 0.8, 0.7, 0.6, 0.5, 0.4, 0.3, 0.2, and 0.1 of a litre. Okay, now 3/4 of a litre is 0.75 litres. And each of these big marks here is 0.1, that's 0.2. So if we count up, this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. This one here would be 0.7, and this one here would be 0.8. And right in between 0.7 and 0.8 is 0.75, or 3/4. So right here is where we would place our mark to show 3/4 of a litre. And they're also asking us how many millilitres is that. Now there's 1,000 millilitres in a litre, and we're being asked what is 3/4 of that. So we can divide it by, so we want to find 3/4 of it. We divide by the bottom, so take 1,000, divide it by 4, and we'll get 250. And then we multiply it by 3, multiply it by the top, and we'll get 750. Number 10. What is the chance of you selecting a king from a deck of 52 playing cards? Well, in a deck of cards, there are 4 kings. There's the hearts, king of hearts, king of diamonds, king of spades, and king of clubs. So there's 4 of those cards out of a total of 52. So we could write down here that the chance of picking a king is 4 in 52. But if you look here, you can simplify this, and it's always best to simplify it if you can. So 2 will divide in, or actually 4 will divide in here once, and 4 will go into this side 13 times. So the chances of picking a king from a deck of 52 playing cards is 1 in 13. That's your chances if you pick one card out of the deck that it'll be a king. 1 time in 13. Number 11, we're starting at 0, and we're going to count back. We have -6, and then we're adding on -4. So we're going to count back 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 to get to -6. And then we're going to count back 4 more. So we'll go -7, -8, -9, -10. Okay, and that's where we land at the end, is on -10. Number 12, 1% of €100 is what? Well, to find 1%, 1% as a fraction is 1 over 100. So to find 1%, all we have to do is divide by 100. And that couldn't be easier. It's 100 divided by 100. Number 13, what is the perimeter? Now the perimeter is walking around the edge, how long it is. What's the perimeter of a regular pentagon? Now a regular pentagon means all the sides are the same length, and it has 60 millimeter sides. So we have a pentagon, a regular one. Okay, and this is 60, this is 60, 60, 60, and 60. So we've got 5 60s altogether. So we could do 2 things. We could add up 60 5 times, or we could do 5 multiplied by 60. And either of those 2 ways will give you the perimeter of the regular pentagon. Now, number 14, if a car travels 5 kilometers in 3 minutes, how far does it travel in an hour? Now, an hour is 60 minutes. Okay, now what do we do by 3 to get it to 60? We multiply it by 20. Okay, so if we do the same thing with our 5 kilometers here, we multiply it by 20, we'll get 100. So the distance that it's going to travel is 100 kilometers. And you could check that by saying it goes 5 kilometers in 3 minutes. In 6 minutes, it'll have gone 10. In 9 minutes it'll have gone 15. So number 15, write in descending order. So descending order is getting smaller. Okay, if you're walking down a stairs, you're descending the stairs. Now, I find these easier if they all have the same amount of numbers in them. So if you look at this one here, it's got 3 numbers after the decimal. So I'm going to put another 2 zeros here so that we have 3 after the decimal. I'm going to put another 2 here so that we can see 3 after the decimal. And I'm just going to put 1 0 in here. And now it should be much easier to put those in order. If you're stuck, what you can do is see, are the first ones all the same? And they are. We have 2, 2, 2, and 2. So the units are all the same. Next, we've got tenths. This one has 0, this one has 0, this one has 2 tenths, and this one has 0. So this one, 2.2, is going to be the biggest number. Okay, so that was the tenths. Next, we're going to look at the hundredths. So we have 2 here, 0 here, and 0 here. So 2.02 is going to be next. And I can cross off these 2 zeros. And the last thing we're looking at is the last number, the hundredths, and we've got this one is 2 and this one is 0. So next will be 2.002, and then we'll have 2.000. Okay, now number 6, well, we'll talk about this first before we go to number 16. This is a pie chart and it shows the favourite sports of 6th class pupils. Now, one very important thing they tell us is that 32 pupils were surveyed or asked what was their favourite sport. So altogether, this whole circle is 32 students. Now, if you look at the circle and you ask yourself, what fraction is it that liked football? Okay, well, if we look at the whole circle, we can see that half of the circle liked football. Half of the circle liked football, and half of 32 is 16. So this here is 16. How many liked hurling? Now, before we look at hurling, I'm going to look at tennis. If you look at tennis here, you should be able to see that that's a quarter of a circle. Okay, so football here, that's a half of a circle. Tennis is a quarter. And if you look at hurling and swimming, it's a quarter that's been split into 2. Okay, which means each of these must be 1/8. 1/8 of the class liked hurling, 1/8 of the class liked swimming. Now, they're asking us in 17 how many liked hurling. Well, we're going to take how many were in the class altogether, 32, and find out what is 1/8 of that. So we'll take 32 and divide it by 8, and that will tell us how many liked hurling. It asks us what percentage liked tennis. Now we saw that tennis was 1/4. Okay, so what percentage is a quarter? So everybody is 100%. Half is 50%. What's a quarter? Number 19, what fraction liked swimming? Well, we've already worked that out. It was 1/8 liked swimming. And number 20, how many more liked football than hurling? So remember, football was a half. Football was a half, and hurling was 1/8. So they're asking us how many more liked football than hurling. Now, that's a takeaway sum. They're asking us what's the difference between the amount of people that liked football and the amount of people that liked hurling. So if we can do the sum 1/2 take away 1/8, that'll give us the fraction. Now, we can't do these at the minute because we have a half here and 8s here. We need them both to be 8s. So 1/2, we can write that down as 4/8. So now we've got 4/8 take away 1/8 is equal to 3/8. So we can actually work out how many pupils that is. We're going to take 32 here, divide it by the bottom, 8, and then multiply it by the top, 3. And that will tell you how many more liked football than hurling. And that's by far the trickiest question of the day, this one here. So if you need to rewind through that one and go through it again. But that's it for your Tuesday. Thanks, guys.